Hello, Tilina.
Yeah, go on.
For that https sp.esn.ac.lk/acquire,
Yeah.
I am getting something like this. It's okay.
Yeah, that is okay. So that should be the data coming from the shibboleth side to the Apache. So once you replace it with some sort of a application, you can use those attributes to find out the user, especially the things like PHP user or remote user or any attribute.
Okay, so shall I need to do that optional part also, that enable attribute checker support on Shibboleth
Yeah,
SP?
so that optional part is there to do the testing, uh, to enforce the attributes. So if you like testing it, you can just do them and check how it works. But anyway, that is just there to do the checking.
Yeah, then I have did another tutorial also, that tutorial 2, installation guide today one. So I am getting that then check Shibboleth configuration for errors. There I am getting some errors.
So you did today's one
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, yeah, I did that.
Okay.
Then I am getting some errors for the comments, that I remove the comments and run that shabd minus t slash for that XML file, and
Yeah. So that's the error.
so shall I send that error or share the screen?
Yeah, just share the screen.
Okay.
Question, Selena, where do you have your, where do you publish your MD5 sum or SHA-1 or SHA-256 of your signing key? Because you tell people to download it, but then you don't tell us to verify it. Is there?
Sorry, Group, I didn't get what you asked.
So how do we know that the signing key we downloaded, which we think is yours, is actually yours? So I'm just going through the steps for today's. And so we download the signing certificate and we trust it, but we don't sum it and we can't go anywhere to verify that it's correct.
That signing certificate, we have published it on LIF page. So it is the same link.
This didn't allow me to share the screen, that host. Disable.
Give us a minute. Go on. So Group was asking, I think, about this link. Okay. You're asking us yeah. We should include the SHA-1 and SHA-256. Yes, we will include it. Yeah, definitely do. Actually, I guess we have missed it. We'll include the integrity checks. Okay, so since most of you are connected, good morning everyone. So today we will be doing the multi-host or the multi-virtual host installation stipulate. So what we targeted was like doing WordPress and Moodle on the same server. So in this guideline, I have kept the samples for WordPress Apache configuration and Moodle Apache configuration, but I have not included any WordPress or Moodle installation guidelines here. You have to do that somehow. So this is just the Apache configurations for the HTTP and for the HTTPS using Let's Encrypt. So you might have something similar. And then after that, you have to install the Apache Shibboleth module and then NTP. After that, like yesterday, go to the Shibboleth folder, download LIF metadata signer certificate. Then on the Shibboleth 2.xml, these are the general configuration. On the difference here is for the entity ID, you have to put one domain name. So you will be having two virtual hosts with two different domain names. For the default application default entity ID, keep one domain name here. And on the application override, you can put the second domain name. So here this application override is new, and yesterday we didn't add this part. So today you will be seeing application override, and in this case I kept WordPress as the default domain and Moodle as the application override domain. And then for that application override, you have to include some sort of an ID value. So here I kept MDL as the ID. And for that second domain, I'll be using two different keys as well. So after that, you have to create those 4 keys, 2 keys for the WordPress and the other 2 for Moodle installation. Then you can do the checking, and if there are any other errors, simply restart the Shibboleth. And on the for the WordPress website, you have to include a plugin called Shibboleth. The details are given here. You have to activate a plugin called Shibboleth plugin by Michael McNeil, Nikto, and Bill Norris. Link is given. Install that plugin, and on the plugin settings, you have to do these changes. And then on the Apache configuration, you have to include this part for the WordPress configuration. For the Moodle configuration, again, you have to include these details for the Moodle installation. But from the Moodle, generally the Moodle comes with built-in Shibboleth plugin. You just have to activate it from your authentication settings. So from login as admin, and then on plugins, there's something called Shibboleth. Enable it, and then on the configuration of that, you can add these details. So one catch here, I didn't include the attributes that you need to enable. So for those mapping, you may need some of the attributes. For example, for the username, I'm mapping EPPN. But if you are not allowing EPPN from the attribute mapper, you have to do that. So that's going to be your task. On your attribute mapper, you have to activate those attributes by your own. Okay, you guys just carry on with this setup, and then during this time, I'll try to address 7 issues. Okay, that error with shift 2, A2 and more shift 2 is again, yeah, I'll update that. Okay, please refresh the guideline page, web SSO. Otherwise, we won't see the changes. So please refresh that page, and then text. Okay, so Kuhan, can you
What was changed on that page, Selena?
this you? Okay, so group, for the IDP version 2SP, there was this legacy of name 2 at flag on the example that I used. So that is why I kept that value, but I'm not sure why it is there actually.
Tilina, can I go to that file?
Oh, yeah. No, that error isn't coming from your attribute number. That error was something else.
This line 119 and 122.
Can you close the file and go back to the error? So the error is on Chevrolet 2 XML 9119,
Yeah.
not on the attribute map. The file should be this, not the other one.
Yeah, this file. Error is something phrase of full.
Yeah. Can you open your Chevrolet 2.xml?
Yeah, this is that file.
No. It was, this not this file, this attribute map.
Okay. Which file I had to open? Which file I have to open?
Chevrolet 2.xml. Yeah, that one.
Sorry. Mm,
Can you just go up? Or okay, just show me what that line. That is WP. Okay. Yeah, good. Okay. Okay, just the thing, the issue with your configuration is one, you have to just copy the whole content just after that metadata provided. So those configuration have to be on the exact location. So we have just copied it just after the metadata provider, and then because of that, the last part have been duplicated.
So I have to cut it that part and put it down. No?
Yeah, yeah. I think you have to do it from that credential resolver.
From this, from here.
Yeah, actually you will see those credential resolver lines already on the file. So you don't have to, you can simply remove those 4 lines. Two credential resolvers. You can simply remove that. And then cut that application override part and paste it on the bottom just before the application before closing that, and then remove this application before closing that here. So you have to remove this one
Uh,
and then delete this part. You have to put this part just above the actual application before. So there's a closing application before value just below. Yeah,
okay. Okay, thank you.
Asel, can you share your setup because I can't again For Asela, I guess that issue was not with your configuration. On your application to LIF, you haven't selected the federation. Because of that, your metadata is not on the federation XML. Give us a minute, we'll edit and then. even sp2.lab.sjp is not there. Okay, so SJP, SP1, SJP, SP2, JFN service provider, RUH service provider was not included in the LIA Federation because they haven't selected that option when submitting the application. So that is why they didn't work. So can you guys just refresh your IDP, restart your IDP and see whether it works? So now we have your details in the metadata. Guys, can you again refresh your Wordpress SSO page, because I did some changes to the Apache configuration at the bottom. So on the bottom of the page, there are two Apache virtual configuration examples. And just to check, I just changed some of the values in there. So just refresh the page and you will see the updated configuration. Chandra, what happened to your installation? Can you recheck? It should work now.
It should work now. I have already saved that VM, otherwise my machine is getting slowed down. Because other VM already started there. So, okay, is it okay now? Can I check it? I can't hear you clearly.
Just restart your IDP and it should work now, because there was an error in your application when submitting, so I just corrected it and now it should work.
Okay, thanks.
Guys, so when you are registering those new service providers, you need to register two entities, one for the WordPress and the second for the Moodle. So it should be two applications, not the same application. There will be two metadata files, and you have to do two applications, or you have to do it twice. So far, we have enabled Swami Vipulananda WP Brooks WordPress SSO for Web OU, and then again Brooks SP.
Delina, did I accidentally register my Moodle and call it WordPress? Is that what you just said?
No, the thing with the application overrides group, when we configure two entity IDs, it should be registered twice as two different entity IDs. So we saw one coming as the Moodle for Brook, and then there should be another one for WordPress. Anyway, yeah.
I'll check. I think I pasted one in but filled in the wrong details. Yeah. So then
So the other one, otherwise I can remove it from here if you like, or you can just rename that.
Now I am getting some other errors that I share the screen that
Yeah, unable to load private key from file. Did you create those keys?
Yeah, I created. I didn't create again. Earlier I created, and after correction I didn't create.
That means are you going to doing these changes on the same server that you did yesterday?
No, this is a different server.
Then you have to recreate them. So those commands, there should be 4 keygen commands, and the guy just check them.
What is the command?
Shift keygen, something like this. USRSP shift keygen. So it's just after the shibboleth2.xml configuration. Just read it, you can do it. And for the WIP people, however, we can't resolve SAML.y WIP. Can you please check your DNS request, because I think it's not yet applied.
Can you send that command?
So those commands, you should find it from here.
Yeah.
Up to this, you have.
So I had to run again these commands, no?
Yeah. Just read this thing and you will get an idea.
Okay.
So for Prateepan, yes, that output should be okay. For Sadeepa, yeah, again, that is okay. Vijayakantan, you are getting an error because you might have duplicated. You might have duplicated the lines. You might have copied directly from our configuration and paste it on that configuration file. So don't do that. Just remove whatever the things that you directly copied and just edit the existing lines.
Irina?
Yes, Adib.
Wait, just a.
From Javatamura, there was a request from Chaturanga, and that metadata details contain the default values like sp.example.org or something. Please check your configuration and reapply because we have to remove that, otherwise it won't work. So those entity IDs and all the other URLs, it should be your URLs, not the example values.
Yeah, Tirina.
Yeah, sorry.
Tirina, in that shibboleth2.xml file, we are adding records for the WordPress now. And do we have to add records for the Moodle also?
Yeah.
That
So
one.
you need to do two applications, one for WordPress and one for Moodle. You can get the metadata from the given URL. So the examples are given. Even for the others, those examples are given. There will be two metadata files for both domains. One for your WordPress domain and one for your one for your Moodle domain. Download those two metadata and then you have to do the application twice. So for us, it will be two different entities. For you, it will be running on the same. Server, but for us, it is just two entities. So that is why we need to have two different applications. And then the people who just apply have to wait. Have to wait a little time because we have to accept that. Then we have to sign the metadata, and then after that you have to restart your ID. So once we do the signing, I'll tell you to restart. So that might be the issue with Kobe and Kanishka.
Yes, Delina, can you change the word Moodle to WordPress in my first registration? Because it turns out I actually had my entity IDs the same in my config, so it auto-generated. Everything was, I got the certificates right, but the entity ID was identical.
Yeah, I'll change that.
I was thinking I needed to do something with the application handler, for metadata generation, but no.
Hello, Mr. Tilna.
Yeah.
I don't have a privilege to edit attributes on fr.ac.lk.
Lumesh, I didn't get what you asked.
I want to edit some attributes from
Okay.
fr.ac.lk. That's it.
Okay. So the thing is, we didn't give any permission to those user accounts. Just tell me are you asking about this WordPress?
Yes, yes.
Okay, just hold on.
I believe
Your account is network NGR.
yeah, I have to add entitlement and affiliation.
Okay, now just do a refresh and see it should work.
Okay, thank you.
Still I am getting that error. Can you please check that?
Bro, can you check your module? I restarted the ID camp. Kanishka, Kobe also can try and see. One, can you just go a little up?
Only these errors I get.
Okay, those are. Can you prepare an LS?
Less.
So those keys are like those keys called WP signing and MDL signing. But in your configuration, those keys are called SP signing. Can you get here?
Okay. Okay, I will edit that. Okay, I will edit that.
Yeah, you're very good. So there will be 4 lines. 2 for the WordPress, the other 2 for the mobile.
Okay.
Irina, excuse me. Hello, Irina. Can you hear me, Irina?
Yeah.
Okay. Then when I change the chiblet to XML, right, in there it says that application override ID, you have mentioned MDL, right? What is that? What is the meaning of that ID? What is the relationship with others? That hostname at HTTPS called MDL at your domain. I have replaced it my one, but what is the relationship with ID mean? If I change it to my host name, is there any error or any mismatch?
Okay, I guess you are asking about this one. Is it? Chandra?
Yes, that's the point.
Okay, so actually I explained it in the morning. I don't know whether you were connected. So this application override is for the, okay, I'll just explain again for everyone from the top. So most of the configuration in this location should be same as what we did yesterday. Only thing now we are going to install chiplet to serve multiple virtual hosts. Let's say virtual host 1, virtual host 2. In our scenario, I'm going to rename them as WP and NDL. NDL is short for Moodle. So if you see NDL somewhere in this configuration, that means Moodle. So this one WP So when we do the installation, there are two parts. One is the application defaults. So whatever you do, application defaults will be applied to the whole ship configure or the ship instance. So this will be the default one. So for the example, I'm going to use one of the virtual hosts to be the default, or otherwise you can simply use something else as default and then do two different overrides for the two virtual hosts. But in this case, I'm going to extend my default area to the WordPress part. So that is why I'm keeping the entity ID like this. So this entity ID only relates to the WordPress installation. So that is why it's WP something. But then at the bottom of the page, bottom of the configuration, just above the application defaults line, you have to include this part. So this is not there in the default configuration. You have to include it just above the application defaults closing tag. So on this part, we are defining an application override, and when you are creating overrides, it's you have to put some sort of identification name to identify this override. Otherwise, in the Apache configuration or any other web server configuration, you can't define those domains like what is the default shibboleth configuration and what is the override configuration. So in this case, I am putting NDL as the ID and then giving the second entity ID as the second domain. So in this case, it's Moodle or the NDL domain. And when you are creating application overrides, it's a good practice to maintain two different signing and encryption keys, because otherwise, when you publish these service providers, IDPs will see the same key for both entities. So actually, this will be this particular one will be a single entity, and the other one, the default one, will be another entity. So from the federation side or from the IDP sides, they will see this as two different entities, two different service providers. So that is why we need two different names and different keys. Then once you do the configuration, you have to create the keys. You have to create those keys using these lines, these configuration, these commands, shift key gen commands, two for the default one and two for the override one. In this case, it's WP and NDL. After doing that, you have to restart the shibboleth configuration. And when registering, once you do the restart, you will get two metadata entities, two metadatας for those entity IDs. One for the WordPress, one for the Moodle. So download these two metadata files and apply or put that application service provider registration twice, one for the WordPress and one for the Moodle.
Okay, thank you, Tilna. Actually, what I have mentioned, at that Shibboleth 2 XML file, application override mentioned the ID. Is there any relationship with the ID and the host name, that the host name of the machine?
So no, there's no relation between the hostname and the ID. So that ID can be anything, any word of your choice. So since it's easy for us, I'm keeping everything like the hostname and the ID. So that's why I'm using the hostname and the equal ID value here.
That means if I create another virtual host, then I can add another entry, application override with this different ID.
Yeah, repeat the same thing. Repeat this part and change these MDL parts into your new name from every location, not just the ID. You have to change this one. You have to change this.
Yes, yes. And the keys.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Tilna.
Cleaner. Now I am getting overall configuration is low double. Check console or log for non-fatal problems. So is
Yeah,
it
so that is the default message. If you don't see any errors, then that is okay.
okay? Right.
Hello, Mr. Tilna. I couldn't get that entitlement values. With the default configuration, we should be able to get it, right?
No, we haven't enabled that. I guess. Yeah, so we didn't enable. We haven't enabled any attributes at the moment for those service providers. So in case if you want to enable that, what normally happens is you provide the service provider application tells us these are the required attributes, and then we change the commands. We change the attribute filters for that particular service provider. But for the moment, we haven't done any filter changes because since these are like testing service providers, we didn't want to create new filters for the service
So
provider.
you are
But
filtering that entitlement, right?
Yeah. So if you want to, when you are doing this in production, we set that.
Okay. I was checking for a long time because this WordPress that user role defined by this entitlement.
Okay, if you want,
I can change it to some other attributes like affiliation or something.
no, the thing is, if you really want to check, you can edit your own attribute filter file. Yeah, on the IDP, edit the attribute filter and include your service provider entity ID and then the whatever the attributes that you need. So for that example, you can just look yesterday's slides. I think the last one.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
So backend guys are having some trouble finding the domain names that you are entering on the application. So some of the application they don't have the working DNS value. So because of that, they are like in trouble doing the checking. So when you are entering the details, make sure you register your domain first and then do the application.
Excuse me, Thiru, that description is related to that previous description. I'm asking that related to the new one. When I'm changing, it is Apache sites enable MDL, that SSL conf file for the Moodle. It's in there. I have to mention that directory, that shibboleth index PHP path, and that it's asking that shib request setting application ID. Right? In there it mentioned MDL. Is it related to that application or that ID?
Yeah, that is the location where you mention your ID, the ID of the override. So I'll just again show.
Actually, why I'm asking that, my machine source name is MD, not MDL, MD lab. Then if I change that in the shibboleth 2, if I change that application override ID MD lab, not the entity ID, right? Entity ID already I have to change, but in the application override ID I have changed MDL to MD lab. If I change to that ID MD lab, then I have to change this
I'll explain it. So, okay, so guys, on the application override, we kept something like this. So in this example, it's ID equal MDL. And the question is where you use that ID, or when you have to refer it. So on your default, whatever the default virtual host, you are not going to mention any of the IDs, because that will, if you don't mention any application ID, then it means the default configuration. But for the Moodle configuration, Moodle part, you have to mention the application ID here, and whenever you do the ship request setting. So when you are setting the shibboleth, you have to mention application ID keyword and the value that you entered as the ID. So this, in my example, it is MDL because that is what I entered. But if you did any change to that ID value, make sure you change that in this location. But the other MDL values, they are not whatever, they are not the application ID, that is something else. For example, this MDL is the location. So in my example, I'm using MDL everywhere because it's easy for me to remember. Even the logs, they have MDL. So make sure to include the correct application ID when you are setting the second virtual host.
okay, thank you, Thiru.
Pradeep, you are getting a lot of syntax errors in your configuration, because I'm not sure why that comes. Just cross check with the guide. There should be errors, and I'm not sure why you are referring NDL WP. Even there are syntax errors on Apache. By the way, please refresh that guide page, because we did a lot of changes in the morning. So just refresh that guide page several times, and then you will get the actual copy. So, okay, so backend staff, they have rejected Kuhan's module request and Kobikeshna's WP request because they are having different entity IDs. So, Kuhan and Kobi, please check again your entity ID values and the configuration, and then regenerate the metadata and then reapply. Otherwise, you won't be having that on the metadata stream.
Hello, Mr. Tilina. There is something called application ID, and so that is not the same thing. Like, hello?
Yeah, sir. So that application, you have to put an application ID when there are multiple application or virtual hosts.
Okay.
So now you have two virtual hosts, one for
Okay.
WordPress and
Okay.
one. So the module one,
Yeah.
we have mentioned an ID in the configuration called ID equals NDL.
Sorry, where we have mentioned that one?
On the application override part.
Right. Right. So there.
Yeah, at the bottom. So if you have more than one virtual host, you have to create multiples of those application override paths. So since we have two virtual hosts, I'm using WordPress for the default application as the default one and Moodle one as the second one.
Right.
If you had three, then you
Okay.
have
I got it now. Yes.
include another override and then give another name. So for this application, we are giving NDL.
Right.
As
Okay.
the ID.
So that from that file. Okay.
Yeah, it is to identify the required chiplet configuration for that particular domain.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So guys, I just like to invite Senvi here, our network manager, to speak a little because today will be our last day of the workshop, and after the second session we'll be dropping most of those service providers away from our configuration, and we'll be concluding the workshop. So we'll just have a few words with everyone, and then we'll come back to the workshop.
Thank you, Tilina. Good morning, everybody. So this is going to be the last day of the workshop. So you may have a few things to cover during the during afternoon. So I was supposed to have the talk at the end of the session anyway. So I have to make it this time. Sorry for that. First of all, I should not forget to thank for every participants for joining this workshop. And I saw there are quite a lot of people actively doing the works, asking a lot of questions, troubleshootings and all that. Thank you for that one. And also I should thank, I saw Mr. Brooke has also actually joined this workshop. Nice to see you, Brooke, here. We hope that the things you gain this workshop will be used in your application especially getting your applications into single sign-on level. So during this pandemic situation, the online education has become the most. Also, there are some policy decisions are going on to make something like. So in this duration, most of the education going on online, but even after this issues settled, the policy is going to be set up to have some amount of education online, somewhere maybe 25% to 30%. So when that happens, so even this duration, so to support that policies, I mean, having some amount of online education. So it is there's a key role, that is our role, to provide the application that supports education. So the question is, do we have provide that? Do we have provide that? So yes, maybe true. You may have provide Moodle for your teachers and students. Is that the only application you have to provide? Is there any something else you should do? So that is where we have to focus most recently. We had to identify what are the applications we can provide for the betterment of for the easiness of online education. So one of the most challenge we are facing at the moment is so getting the getting the most user friendly, getting the most convenient application available from the set of available applications around. It is quite hard because getting all those applications done by using pre-open source may not be possible. So that is the challenge. So for example, if someone asks somebody to implement a Zoom-like service using open source, so it is not possible. It is not, anyways, it is never possible. So there are many kind of application and levels of applications Zoom-like. So it is not possible to do in pre-open source. So there are, yes, through that we do all these federation stuff, IDP, sensor provider, that those things can be done using open source, pre-open source. But most useful application, most convenient application like Zoom may not be easy to provide using pre-open source. So the challenge is to get to sufficient enough funding for those applications, for us to subscribe those applications. That is going to be expensive. So that is where you all have to pay attention rather than so we spend a lot of money for the networking long time. So we have to continue to do that for future as well. So in addition to that, so there's a requirements that universities, all those the grant, or maybe UGC has to locate those funds to subscribe in the application, the most convenient applications users prefer, teachers prefer, students prefer. So we have to, that is the challenge we have. So that is must. So that is my message to you all. That is the future challenges for all of us. Once again, thanks for joining this workshop. Actively participate in the workshop. Also, I must thank Tilina for setting up all the materials, and also the technical team supporting him, providing all the assistance to him to get this success, and also the learn management provide us necessary approval and support to do this workshop. And also the rest of the learning staff helping us to get all this logistic work done. As well as we have planned to provide your certificate of completion this course. So that also be arranged. Will be sending to your institute or maybe to your over the post. So once again, thank you everybody. Thank you for joining. Thank you Tilina for calling me for this small talk. Thank you.
With that, we can stop for lunch, and then during the lunch hour, if you like, you can do the testing, and then after the lunch, I will show you how to set up the WordPress and Moodle from the shibboleth authentication on WordPress and Moodle from that application plugins. So that we will be discussing after the lunch. Okay, then see you guys around 1 p.m.
Can you remember that mistakes I have done in the SP the previous time when I registered the leaf?
Chandra, we couldn't hear you clearly.
Just I need to know that in last yesterday when I register my service in the VA, you said that I have done a mistake. You have corrected it, and currently when I am registered that full services to the lake, I have processed the same steps and the details. The mistakes can be repeated. That is why I am asking.
Chandra, so the issue was with, okay, so when entering those metadata details and filling that form, at one point it asks whether you want to include it into one of the federation. So normally we select the identity federation as the federation, but in your application and one or two other applications, that was not there. So since we did not check yesterday, we just, without checking, we just allowed everything. So that is why we missed it. But normally, even if you miss that, from our side, we will include it when we are adding MSP. So it won't be a big issue when in case of production service providers.
Okay.
Mr. Tilina, there is a problem error page. So I want to show you on that one. So it's saying like the UAI help desk URL in the event field must contain a valid URL.
Yeah, can you go to UI information page?
UI information? Hello, I can't hear.
Can you go about page?
About page.
Yeah, so that
General organization.
yeah, in the organization one, then the next one. Okay. So the second box,
This one.
it should be a URL.
Information about. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Sorry about that. Okay.
Okay, so during the lunch hour, we got around 14 requests. So how people will accept them? Just give 5-10 minutes for that, and after that we will extend the metadata. So I'll let you know when we start your ID and check. In the meantime, I'll show you the login pages of the configuration pages of the Wordpress and the Moodle. So this is my WordPress installation, and on that WordPress installation, I have installed that Shibboleth plugin. So if you haven't installed it, you have to go to plugins and then go to add new and do a search on Shibboleth, and it will give you some plugins that contains Shibboleth. So the one we will be using is this particular one, Shibboleth by Michael McNeil, Mito, and Will Norris. So install that. Once you install and once you activate that plugin, you will get a new entry on your settings page called Shibboleth. So on this Shibboleth settings page, whatever the details that you have to enter, I have given you in the document, but just I'll explain. First one, the login URL should be something like this. So the standard URL format for the login initiator is something like this: your domain and then shibboleth.sso/login. Logout is something like this. So these links, these paths are some kind of a standard. So just keep as it is. Only change the domain path. Then if you have a different password change URL, so in this case, normally IDP directly doesn't do the password change. So you have to have a password change URL if you have something like that. So if you have a particular password change URL, then you can set it here. Otherwise, don't put anything on these locations. And then the default login method, you can change. So basically, the default login method would be the WordPress inbuilt login, but for some users, you can simply select Shibboleth as the default login. But before putting this, make sure this login in Shibboleth works. As we haven't checked it yet, don't enable this. Then you can add an automatic login. So if there are login pages or there are authentication required pages, then they will be automatically logged in. Same time, you can disable local authentication. Anyway, don't disable local authentication. The thing is, if you disable the local authentication, you won't be able to log in as admin. Then the button text, you can simply customize that. So whatever the thing that you want to configure. And then on the user tab, you can do the mapping of attributes. So the mapping of attributes in this case, I am mapping EPPN as the username, first name, given name, last name, SN, likewise, and mail attribute for the email address. And then if you want to block users, or if you want to prevent users editing any attribute used in this mapping, you can simply select this manage tick. Once you click that, users won't be able to edit those values from their login page. Once they log in, they won't be able to edit any of their values. So for things like username, email, we can use as managed values so that users won't change that. Then since we are enabling IDP based authentication, you don't have to create users. Users can be automatically created. So to do that, you have to enable automatic create users. And there are several other details like combining local accounts with the IDP authorized accounts, something like that. So it depends on how you maintain your user accounts. So if you don't have local accounts, just keep them on the default values. And one other thing, when you put attributes here, make sure you have enabled them from your attribute map of the service provider configuration. So earlier, even in this configuration steps, I have mentioned something like this. You have to activate attributes from etc shibboleth attribute map.xml. So if you are going to use attributes on the Wordpress mapping, make sure your service provider has enabled those attributes from the attribute map. Otherwise, this won't work. Therefore, make sure these are enabled from your attribute map file. Then authorization. So, okay, so here is an example for custom entitlement value. You can add those values to the entitlement, or you can create any other header name. Header name means, in this case, it should be the attribute name, attribute mapping. So, for example, let's okay, so this can be the attribute values that were passed in that PHP application yesterday we did. So you can use the same name for this role mapping. So in this example, they are using an entitlement to manage the roles for the administrator. So whoever log in with the entitlement with something like this will be logged in as an administrator. So you can simply define that. And for the affiliation, if the value is faculty, then they will have the author rights. And then you can decide a default role. By default, it will be no role, but if you like, you can create a subscribe role so that anyone who logs in will be automatically become a subscribe if they don't get into any of the above categories. And then you can enable login if you want to do the login and for troubleshooting. It's better you enable these as well. Okay, so this is this is WordPress configuration. On the Moodle's website, you don't have to include a separate plugin. The Moodle Shibboleth plugin comes with the Shibboleth configuration, shibboleth installation, you have to go to site administration and then plugins. On the plugins, you will see shibboleth. You can simply include same thing like the mappings and then the other different details. These are some of these examples are given in my document, so you can see. And then click save. After going that, you have to go back to the authentication and then enable shibboleth. So in this case, I have put shibboleth login as one of the main logins. So here you can see the enabled logins. This is already enabled. And if I go to my Wordpress installation, login will have a new part called login with shibboleth. If your attribute mapping is correct, this login with shibboleth should work. Once you click that, you will see the FTS page. Search your IDP and then log in. If you don't do the attribute mapping correctly, once you click the login button, you will get an error saying you can't log in because the actual attributes are not passed. So in this case, in my case, I have enabled all those attributes, and now you can see those values that I said earlier by adding that manage tick. So here the user can't change these values. That is because I have already logged them from the admin side. But these values can be changed because they are not logged. For the Moodle one, login, and then here the shibboleth login. Now logged in. Okay, for WordPress, if you don't pass the attributes, you will be rejected. But for the Moodle, if they don't get the attributes, you will be logged in, but you won't see your details on your profile. Go to your profile and see whether you see your email address, your name, or any other map content. If you can't see, so these values are automatically filled. I didn't include any of these, so these are coming from my mapping. If you don't have that actual mapping, then you won't see values for these locations, but your account will be created. Okay, any questions?
Then I have sent the information to the register. But is it complete? Can I restart the IDP?
Give us a minute. So it's still on the way. So there are like 10 to 15 service providers. So still our people are enabling them. Once they enable all the service providers, I'll reset the metadata and then I'll let you know, let everyone know. Okay, so there were several errors on some of the applications. From Sashi, there was a issue with the entity ID. Entity ID was different, so because of that, they have rejected it. From Ratnayaka, discovery response not direct into federation page. And Nirosha, did you include your IDP directly or did you include FTS? The other entity, for the other application from Ratnayaka, they have removed it because of an error in the entity ID. Please check that again. And for Sadi, first both applications, they have different entity IDs.
Hello, Mr. Tilna.
Yeah.
Is it possible to check your model configurations, Shibboleth?
You mean, yeah.
Yours, Shibboleth username you have used EPPN, and the identity providers, is it HTTPS MDL, our Shibboleth URL, login URL?
Ramesh, give me a minute till I pick this metadata for this. Okay, so others can restart your IDPs and check whether you can log in. Now we have restarted we have assigned the metadata from our side. Okay, back to Lumesh's question. Moodle, I didn't get what you asked.
I wanted to check these configurations from the Moodle side.
Moodle site admin or the
from website, yeah, site admin.
This one.
Yes.
Okay, so in
Under authentication.
Here the username is EPPN.
Okay, I am using UID.
Sorry?
I am using UID.
Okay, you are using
okay, right?
UID. But in this case, I think we are not sending UID by default. Then you have to include a different attribute filter for that service provider.
I think I am passing that UID.
Did you change the attribute filter?
Yes.
Okay, so when logging into the system, did that consent page showed you the UID value?
Yes.
Then you have to enable UID in the attribute map. Did you do that also?
In a mapper, yes, I did.
UID.
And next, that identity providers. Yeah.
This one, this one keep whatever the example is, or just keep it blank.
As it is. So other than that, all are mappings, right?
Yeah. From data mapping, everything is like just mappings, but still you have to enable it from the shibboleth attribute mapper file.
Now I changed it to this EVPN, but still I'm getting that error.
Can you share?
Yeah. So
can you go to Apache configuration?
this one.
Okay. Moodle, this, yeah, Moodle. So this path is it correct?
Yes. Right. That I forgot. Delete MDL. Now it's correct.
Yeah, just restart Apache and see.
Still same error.
That location should be www.moodle/auth auth/shibboleth.
Right. Model.
Yeah, that's.
From the administrator side, it was saying okay. That path is wrong. It should HDML. This one. HTML model. Right. Now it's working.
Yeah, I can log into the.
Yeah, now it's okay.
Yeah, so that Selenium part is not mapped, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't map it.
Yeah, that's what it's saying. If you go to as the administrator, go to your users page. Site administrator. Site administrator.
You want to see this one?
Yeah, and then see this stuff. So I just created my account. And I included map as my surname because
as name. Right.
Without any value, it doesn't allow me to save it.
Right.
Okay, others?
Lina, my LAF registration for Moodle is okay, no?
Okay.
When I log in Moodle, I got the message. Can I share the screen?
Yeah.
I am getting the message Sibloth.
Yeah, first check Apache configuration. First check the Apache configuration for npl.lab.txt and see whether that is correctly created for that particular domain and particular file path.
The registration part is okay, no? Moodle.
So this error comes because there are some error in the service provider configuration. So it doesn't matter if the registration doesn't matter at this point.
Hello, yes, brother.
Fill in the fields.
Tilina, I shared that Apache configuration file, that SSL.
Yeah, can you check? Can you check your document root with the directory? So when you are adding something like this, make sure you include your own directory, because I have kept directory related to my configuration.
Okay,
So
okay.
you have to change that.
But WordPress is working without asking anything.
Because WordPress, you just have to put the relative path and then do the configuration of the plugin. But in this case, you have to give the specific path.
Okay. Thank you.
That's okay.
Hello, there is some error message given here. So it's like this. Unable to create account based on data provided. So if I go to login with Bluetooth, it will come like this. Okay.
Okay, so what you have to do is enable those attributes from your attribute map.xml.
I just enabled all of them.
Then can you log in to WordPress as the administrator?
Okay.
Just to check what are the means. Yeah, on the user tab. Okay. Can you log out?
Sorry?
Log out.
again login.
Yeah, when you are logging, just click that. Okay, just go to your login page. Login using super, and select that clear file thing. Click as the
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, that you have to do that thing. Just to check.
Accept.
So you are using VPN affiliation. Okay, accept. That means there are some issue with the mapping. Can you go back to that attribute map file? Did you restart this service after changing editing that?
Sorry, I can't hear clearly.
No, I mean, can you go back to that attribute mapper file? Not on the Wordpress, but on the Shibboleth configuration? No. I mean, on the etc Shibboleth attribute map.
Okay.
Actually, now I am getting message like this when I log in through.
Go and give us a meet, but we'll fix this and we'll come back to it. Also, did you enable those attributes from this file?
Yeah. Enabled. Everything is enabled. I enabled everything. Yeah.
Just to make sure, just do a restart on Shift D.
Hello.
Just restart Shift D.
Huh. Restart.
Service system CTL restart Shift D. Service Shift D restart. Oh, system CTL restart Shift D. Service Shift D restart.
Okay.
Now restart Apache answer.
Okay.
Yeah, now try looking. Yeah, now it's it should be some attribute map and the restart.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Juan,
After that login, I am getting this similar login.
Yeah, that comes because you haven't restarted your IDB, or otherwise you have technically.
Okay, I didn't restart the IDB. Shall I restart? Okay.
Hello, Mr. Thilana. The model also got something like that. I can show you. So after logging it,
Yeah, so if you can't see any values, that means that mapping is not done correctly. In this case, it might be the plugin configuration. Just log in again as the administrator and then check.
okay.
Okay. Data mapping given. So I tried to log in with my account, but for me it seems it's working. Can you try logging back, please?
Logging again from another computer.
Yeah, make sure to clear the values before logging in.
Okay.
Put that key.
Okay.
I have faced the same problem till.
So Chandana?
Yeah, I have faced the same problem when I am logging to the Moodle that information is not displayed.
Did it work for WordPress? Chandana, did it work?
No, I didn't check that still. Just I will check the Moodle.
And can you tell your URL?
WD Yeah, MD lab, one word, mdlab.ruh.ac.lk.
Have you enabled attributes from your attribute map.xml? Done there.
Yeah, it's already enabled, no?
So your attribute map is enabled.
Wait, I'll check it again.
Tirina?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Chandana, you have to enable those attributes. So now it's by default they come as commented lines. You can see the commented parts. You just remove the commented line. It's better if you can do it from the bottom. Otherwise, you will miss some. Uncomment the values from the bottom of the file.
Tilina?
Yes.
Tilina, when I am trying to login with Shibboleth to the WordPress, there is an error says not found. The requested URL was not found on the server.
Tell me the link. Can you tell me your link?
Okay.
WordPress.lab.s. Sadif, I guess that issue is with your shipwreck configuration. Did you do that shipwreck override configuration?
Tilina, you mean the Shibboleth XML file?
Yeah. Or otherwise, can you share?
May I share the screen?
Yeah. Please share.
Okay.
So that is Moodle.lab.sa. The other one? WordPress.lab.sa. Okay. Can you show us the Apache configurations?
Sorry, Tilina?
Can you open Apache configuration? APA. APA. No, I mean the sites enabled. So what is the WordPress one? Is it default one?
Yeah, Tilina, default.
That's so you should nice. location line.
Sorry?
Shibboleth related line. No, not that one.
This part? No, can't be.
Can you do a tail down shifty.log file should be var log shibboleth and shifty.log.
Sorry, Dilna?
Can you open shibboleth log file? It should be on var log shibboleth and the file is shifty.log. Or otherwise just enter service shifty status.
Dilna, I didn't get you.
Service shifty status.
Mr. Tilina, my model is working for another account, but for not my account.
Then maybe your account doesn't have that values. Can you check that from your LDAP?
LDAP. Okay.
Sadiq, it seems like this shibboleth plugin doesn't work with your Amart configuration. Can you open that laptop's SAP.ac.lk configuration file?
The file?
Anyway, so here you have like this much files. What
Yeah.
are they enabled?
Sorry?
Just enable for not the available. Enable.
Sorry, Dilna, not clear. It's not clear.
Go to sites enable. No. /sites - enable.
Name.
Remove that slash. Okay. Then open that Wordpress platform. Okay, it's a broken link. Open default SSL. And you go back to the shibboleth 2.xml. So need a shibboleth 2.xml. HTTPS. So I need to go down. also can't figure out what has happened. Sadipa, can I get any desk for remote access to your console?
Yeah, sure. I will. May I stop sharing my screen now?
Sorry?
May I stop the sharing screen?
No, just keep it like that and give me this.
Tirina?
Yeah.
My ID is
Yeah.
558
558
796
796
203.
203. This is not available. 558 796 203.
Yeah, just give me a few time. It's connecting to the network.
Are you at campus?
In Anydesk, it's showing the connecting to the Anydesk network. It's still connecting. That's why I think. Still now it's okay.
Otherwise, Sadipa, shall we?
Till now it's connected.
Okay. Is it better?
Just,
Let me get it in 558.
yeah, 558 796 203
2.
03.
be the same site. We have to check troubleshooting at EM. I'm also not getting anything.
Suradina?
Seems like I'm also not getting any last week troubleshooting. It seems like when we restart Apache, the shiplet service goes down. I'm not sure it is happening. Shall we do the troubleshoot after workshop, because I'm getting the end of the work. That's right.
Okay, then okay, sure. Staying time.
So others, what is happening?
Lina, I am getting that same error again. That for the Moodle Sibilant login.
Your entity IDs. can you go back? MDL.ts anything.
Okay.
No, go back to your website. Yeah, that is included in the metadata. So if you restart the IDP, it should work.
I restarted the IDP.
Can you try it and see because just I just check and it is there.
Sorry.
No, can you restart again and see because when I check,
Restarted IDP again.
yeah.
Okay.
Sadeep, I think we need to check the shibboleth configuration and Apache configuration. I guess when we are restarting Apache, because of some Apache configuration, this shibboleth service gets dropped. I'm not sure why it is happening. Maybe some issue with the default SSL configuration file. I think we have to check that again. If you can clear all the commented lines and then check all the other lines on the default SSL, sometimes you might find the error.
Okay, Dilna. Okay, I will check.
Okay, guys. So it's almost 3 p.m. here, and I just want to wrap up things. So with this workshop, we were able to discuss how to enable, how to install service provider, shibboleth service provider, and then we got around, let's say, sorry, I don't know, somewhere around 20 or 30 service providers for these 2 days. Like this much here. All these are newly added service providers, testing service providers. So you can test your service providers and whatever the application that you are running on those servers. And these are like testing web servers, and most of the time we will keep these test metadata somewhere like maybe 1 week's time. If you want to keep them for a long time, please email us asking to keep them. Otherwise, we will be removing them maybe after this week. So all the test services will be removed after this week. So if you want any of your service to be kept for the testing, just let us know, then we will keep them. Otherwise, we will remove them from the registry. So you can see there are like 56 service providers at the moment, including few that were already there. So it's like so up to 17. There were like 17 service providers until Group entered his service provider yesterday. So from 18 to 56. The service providers services that were yesterday and today. So I guess we can conclude our workshop, and then those who did attend, and for those who did some work by registering something, registering some service, they will receive a certificate to their institute, and we will send them by mail some maybe within few weeks time. For others, if they were participated on all the sessions, they will receive a participation certificate. Who did not install any of those applications, so they might receive a participation certificate if they had their attendance. So from our backend, how people are taking all the attendances that they need for the purposes. Okay, so lastly, are there any comments? And yeah, Brooke and Terry, I'm not going to send you any certificates. And definitely we will send you an invitation to Sri Lanka. Definitely we will send you guys invitations when all these traveling restrictions are. Yeah.
Hi everyone. It's dinner time. I'm cooking.
And I guess it's like almost midnight for you.
Yeah, it's 7:30 at night, so I'm an old man, so I go to bed soon.
Okay, then thank you, Brooke. Then and Terry was here in the morning, and please give our regards to him as well. And others, thank you, and we'll wrap up the workshop now, and then we'll try to send you the certificates. And if you need to keep the if you want to keep the service providers, just let us know by email. Then we can keep them for some time, so you can do the testings later on. Then we did want to introduce few of our new faces, especially the Gunasekar and Anjali from the technical team. So you guys saw them yesterday. So if I'm not here to help you, please talk to the and one. They will help you when needed. And then from our operations team, there are several new faces, especially Sashimi Tanage. Thank you for helping us. She's the new secretary to learn CEO. So if you haven't met her, please try to find her. I can't show you because she's not here in this lab. Try to find her on Facebook, and then thank you again, guys. See you someday again on the workshop. See you. Bye.